In this video, I'm going to teach you how to improve your reading comprehension using ChatGPT. We're going to look at how we can make sure we understand what we've read, expand our knowledge, gain insights on vocabulary in context, and other things as well. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to see future videos. And now let's get into it. For those of you who read, good for you. Maybe you read articles. Maybe you read books. Maybe you read short stories, whatever. For those of you brave people who read to improve your English, I would like to share with you some ways to really get the most out of your reading. And we're going to be looking at how we can use ChatGPT to do this. Although some of the things we're going to talk about, if you chose not to use ChatGPT, would still be possible because they are best practices for remembering what you read and getting the most out of it. I read a lot. I read books. Like, I got one on my desk right here. The book is Hegel and the Hermetic Tradition. But I also listen to a lot of audiobooks. And I want to make sure, that's just random, by the way. I have just the nearest book. Anyway, I like to make sure that I get the most out of what I read. If you spend time doing that, you don't want it to just in one ear and out the other. You want to get the most out of it, right? Right. So how do you do that? So let's hop over to ChatGPT for a second. And what we're going to do is talk through some ideas for making sure that you retain what you read, that you can maximize your new vocabulary discovery, right? Discovery of new words. That you can learn stuff based on what you're reading and make sure that your understanding is, let's say, the correct understanding, okay? So the first we're going to talk about is annotation. And this is basically to get information about specific things within the text, right? Now, some people take notes as they're reading a book. They'll circle something or underline something and then write something down to help them remember. And that's great. I would encourage you to do that. This is called active reading, right? Or active participation. One thing that you can do to really retain anything you read is to try your best to participate. If you receive information, if you get information, you might remember stuff, you may not, but the chances of it eventually fading or fading fairly quickly are higher than if you were to have some kind of output, even if that output is thoughts. So what people do is they underline things, and that is output, right? Just to underline a word, that is output. Or they underline and they make a note in the margin. That is output too. You're telling your brain this is important, and that makes it a little stickier in your brain, in your memory. And it might help you to then talk about it more completely later if you're having a conversation about a book you read. But there's a lot that could include as well. And we're going to look at using ChatGPT to do that. Okay, so let's say I come across a paragraph or a sentence even, and there's one little piece in that I think I understand, but I want to make sure I've got it, right? So I just want to play with it a little bit to make sure my understanding of the meaning is what it is the correct understanding. So let's say I'm reading a short story, The Necklace. Okay. What I would do is I would say something like, what is meant, and then give the specific quote or the thing I want to focus on, in context, what is meant by sought after in this paragraph from The Necklace? So The Necklace is the short story I'm reading, and I want to know sought after in this context. Okay. So this is kind of like underlining something, right? And this is like underlining something and then going to look up what it might mean just to double check my understanding. Okay, then I give the whole thing, the whole paragraph. She had no dress, no jewels, nothing, and these were the only things she loved. She felt she was made for them alone. She wanted so much to charm, to be envied, to be desired and sought after. Sought after. I think what she's saying is people want to be around her. I think that's the idea. But I want to check that. Okay, so this is equivalent to a highlighter and a little bit of looking up. We get from ChatGPT in the paragraph from The Necklace, sought after means to be desired, pursued, or wanted by others. The protagonist, Mathilde Loisel, I think is how you say it, Loisel, I think, wishes to be someone whom people actively seek out or pursue, either for her beauty, grace, or social standing. Okay. She wants to be recognized, admired, and yearned for by others. The phrase emphasizes her deep longing for attention, validation, and admiration in society. The desire is central to the story's themes and the choices and actions of Mathilde throughout the narrative. Is it Mathilde or Mathilde? I think it's Mathilde. I could be wrong. So that's adding a lot, right? You're kind of fleshing out the little piece that you're underlining and getting a bit more context, checking your understanding. Good. Now, let me zoom in just a little bit here so we can see this a little bit better. Now, maybe I want to check my understanding based on the whole thing. I want to understand my overall comprehension. Or perhaps I'm struggling to understand. So you would provide the same paragraph and then say, reword the whole paragraph in a simpler way so that it is easier to understand. Okay. Now, there's a risk that by just sending this or requesting this right now, I will get the paragraph, the response paragraph. So I'm going to just provide it just to make sure it's super clear. Okay. She didn't have fancy dresses or jewelry, even though she loved them. She believed they were meant for her. She wished to be charming and wanted others to envy and desire her. Well, that's it, right? That is a simplified version. So if you ever come across when you're reading something, a really dense paragraph, and you're sitting there trying to just understand what the heck is this paragraph all about, you can use this very simple prompt. Reword the whole paragraph in a simpler way so that it is easier to understand, and then provide that paragraph that you're struggling with. Then read the simple version. Oh, okay, that's pretty easy to understand. Then go back and make sure you understand the original. Now that you know what it is saying, you can go back, you can review it, and you can connect the dots together, okay? Good. Now, we could do a variation of this, which would be to simply ask for an explanation of the meaning. This is, just a follow-up thing. There are a lot of ways to play with this and to interact with a text. I think that's the most important thing to take away is what we're doing is interacting with the text now. And by having that interaction, that is our kind of output. We're not writing a summary. We don't have to. We're not doing too much. We're just interacting with it a little bit. And that is one of the things that makes it easier to remember, that increases retention. Okay, so simply explain the meaning of the whole paragraph. The woman lacked luxury items like fancy dresses and jewelry, but she deeply desired them. She believed She believed she deserved such things and wanted to be admired and desired by others because of them. So in this case, the explanation of the meaning and the variation are pretty similar, but if it's longer or more dense, we might get a simpler response, easier to digest if we ask for the explanation. Okay. Now, we might go a little bit further with our output when we're reading this. Whatever it is, again, we could be talking about an article, a novel, dense philosophy, right? We might want to have a discussion with ChatGPT about the text and actually try to pick ChatGPT's brain a little bit. Now, this is something that's a little bit more challenging to do without ChatGPT, right? If you have someone else who's reading along with you, you can go back and forth and discuss it. That's, I would say, the value of a book club, to check your understanding. I would encourage you to join a book club. Those can be great. But maybe I want to start or initiate with a question, a fairly open question, to get ChatGPT's thoughts first, and then maybe provide my own. All right, so what are the core themes? I don't need to have that there. What are the core themes of The Necklace? The Necklace by Guy de... how do you say his name? Maupassant? I'm not sure how to say his name. It's a French name. I'm not totally sure. Touches on several core themes. Pride and envy. Mathilde is deeply unsatisfied with her social standing. Deception and appearance versus reality. The beautiful necklace that appears to be made of diamonds and represents wealth and status. Okay, spoilers, okay. The consequences of choices. Mathilde's decision to borrow the necklace and her subsequent choice not to inform Madame Forrester of its loss led to a decade of hardship for Louiselle. Socioeconomic class. The story highlights the struggles and aspirations of the lower middle class. Okay, fate and unpredictability. Sacrifice. Okay, so these are the themes, and then we might have a follow-up kind of conversation. I could ask further questions. I could ask ChatGPT to ask me questions. But again, the main thing is we're just trying to go back and forth a little bit. Now, what about the English learning part of this? Specifically, I want to expand my vocabulary. We kind of did that when we looked at that specific piece, right? We looked at specifically, what does sought after mean? Now, that's just going to simply explain that, but perhaps I want more. So I want to understand a more full explanation. I want to get a more full explanation of a particular word or idiom or phrase that then expands on that to give me the connotation, the other meanings it might have, how common it is. Because one thing you'll find is you're reading something and then you see that this word seems to be outdated, but then why is it here? Should I learn it or not? If it's outdated and no one uses this word, then maybe I shouldn't use it. Is it worth learning? This kind of stuff comes up. So here's what we can do. Explain the meaning, and again, we're providing the full context. We want to do that. Always a good idea when you're working with ChatGPT to provide the full context. Explain the meaning of rapturously in this sentence, or the sentence I provide. Also, give any common synonyms. Explain how common it is. Give any social connotations. Here is the sentence. She threw her arms around her friend's neck, embraced her rapturously, then fled with her treasure. So I want to know synonyms. I want to know how common it is. I want to know if there are any connotations, right? So let's try this. And you can word that prompt in different ways. It's fine. In the given sentence, rapturously describes the manner in which she embraced her friend, meaning rapturously means with extreme joy, enthusiasm, or pleasure. The action was filled with deep emotion and elation. Okay, so we've got the meaning. That's a pretty good definition, actually. What are some synonyms? I hear you, Circle. My cat is rapturously seeking my attention, perhaps. I hear you. I hear you, Circle. I hear you. I will pay attention to you later, okay? All right. Now I can hear him laying down. He's cool. Let's see. So synonyms would be something that has words that have the same meaning. Ecstatically, enthusiastically, passionately, exuberantly. Okay, good. The word rapturously is not an everyday term and might be considered slightly more literary or elevated in tone. It's used in contexts where a heightened sense of emotion is to be conveyed. Okay, so that helps. It's not an everyday term, so maybe I wouldn't just walk around using rapturously all the time. I would say that's accurate. I don't think I've really used it ever, maybe, but I do know it. Why do I know it? Because I've read a lot of literature, so I've read it. But I don't think I've ever said it because it's not very conversational. Using social connotations, using rapturously often suggests a sense of intense happiness or deep emotional connection. There isn't a strong negative or positive connotation to the word itself. However, in contexts, it generally leans toward a very positive euphoric feeling. Okay. Good. So we get the idea, and we know that it's not very common, and we have the connotation, so that's useful. So you can do that when you discover or find a new word that you want to understand more deeply. All right. Now, we might take it a little bit further, and again, I'm encouraging you to kind of play around with this. What I'm giving you are not the only ways that you can interact with a text or something you're reading. There are a lot of ways to do that. But I'm just giving you some ideas to use ChatGPT as a partner to annotate, to do active reading, to define, to review, right? Create a challenging quiz to test my understanding of the short story, The Necklace, with different types of questions. Okay, so let's try this. I want to actually see how well I remember the story itself. Multiple choice. What does Mathilde Loisel envy the most about other women? Their husbands, their friendships, their wealth and possessions? I'm going to go with C. True or false? Mathilde believes she was born into a life below her deserving, and she would have been... Mathilde believes she was born into a life below her deserving, and she should have been born into a life of luxury. True? Okay, there's a short answer. I'm going to skip that one. But I could do that and then ask ChatGPT to give me feedback on that. Okay, so matching different question types. So you can ask for anything, quizzes, discussion questions, whatever it is, right? And if you're a teacher, this could be a very powerful tool for generating discussion questions based on something that you're teaching, right, to your students. So that's another very powerful way to use tools like ChatGPT. So play around with this, and I would encourage you to do it for anything you're reading, to have it open as you're reading whatever you're reading, and to read consistently. That's very important. If it makes reading more enjoyable, great, right? Great. Use it as a tool. Right? That's what I do. Often when I'm reading online, I have it open. If I want to explore something more deeply, if I want to remember something, I do this pretty regularly, actually, as a way to, again, increase my comprehension, to interact with the text a little bit, to do active reading so that it sticks better, so that I can actually talk about what I've read, which in my view is an important thing to be able to do. Okay, if you have any questions about this, let me know. Let me know how it goes in the comments. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And also, get a free course, Natural English Conversations, in the links in the description.